Welcome, everybody. We are going to be going live in just a second. Getting my kombucha ready for this session. I'm going to be going over G.R.A.N.T Acceleration today. It's a 5-step sprint method I put together to handle RFPs, capture opportunities. We're going to go over it in just a moment. All right, so let's do this. Okay, so we're going to go over the G.R.A.N.T Accelerator. It's a proprietary system I put together, which will be available for nonprofits and available for purchase by for-profits, that allows you to do agile approaches for ideation on opportunities. So what exactly does that mean? If you have RFPs, if you have clients that say, hey, send me a proposal, let's talk about that, or in your own company, you're coming up with new ideas, this is a great approach to do all of your research and capture the opportunities, all of that. So let's look into it a little bit further. I've made 5 different areas of this: the G, the R, the A, the N, and the T. Now, each of these is actually a sprint. And what we find, people want you to get back with them extremely fast. Even on an RFP worth a few $1 million, you might only have a few weeks to do that. I mean, I've seen some you might find, and you have 7 days left. So we have a lot to go over here, but each one of these is an individual sprint. And I suggest to use an agile approach with this, and the gauge is an entire sprint. Research is an entire sprint. Assembling is a sprint. And you can actually do each of these sprints at the exact same time and split it up between 5 complete different teams that then all come back together and present it back at once to the client. Or you could take a more chronological approach and go from the G to the R to the A. So I'm going to be speaking as if you're a smaller team and you're going from the G to the R to the A all the way through, and that you have about a month to complete this one opportunity capturing. With that in mind, let's talk about the very first step, the gauging. So gauging is all about capturing an opportunity. And we have a list in here of all the different things you're going to need to do to properly capture that. And we're going to break each one of these down and spend a minute or two on each one so you really understand and you can refer back to this video even during your work process. So we start out with what we call the dream detective. He's a sleuth that his whole job is to just go out and find opportunities. And the reason we call it a dream detective is sometimes, there's very nice opportunities that are perfect for your company or perfect for your organization. But if you don't have a good detective on your team, you're not even going to know those opportunities are there. So you need to either put this detective hat on yourself to go out there and look for these, or you need to have a specialist on your team that is their entire role. You can get rid of a lot of the marketing department just by having a good dream detective that looks at these very professional opportunities. So before we get started on actually diving in, we need to know, well, what is an RFP? If you're new to that area, an RFP is called a request for proposal. And there's actually RFIs, there's all types of different ones. But the request for proposal is the main one we're going to be talking about and putting through here. We have another video you can look at that looks at all the different things if you really want to become a really, really strong dream detective and figure all this out. So yes, once a company or a funding agency is ready to look for potential vendors or potential suppliers, they send out an RFP. And there's different websites that they use to let all the vendors in the world know, hey, we need somebody to do this work for us. So responding to that RFP is the only way you can actually get that opportunity. So we're going to look at that before we move on to any other steps. So we're going to just go over on the internet. And on the internet, we're going to go to grants.gov. Now, grants.gov, if you're a nonprofit, this is the best place to look for opportunities over here. And then if you're a for-profit, there's an old way. If you see old tutorials from other companies, they're going to tell you to go to fbo.gov. But it's been closed down. And yes, it says it's moved to beta.sam.gov, which that's still, it's a beta, so they're still in the process of updating this. But regardless, let's say that let's say you're a medical company. So you can type in the word medical. And this is going to give you all kinds of different opportunities in here. And like I said, we have a whole different video teaching how to use these systems. So on the nonprofit end, again, you can type in medical over here. Yeah, tons of opportunities. So instead of trying to do smaller projects, this purpose of this whole program to capture multi-million-dollar opportunities, to really scale up your company and treat it very professionally. Okay, so let's go through that step by step, how we actually gauge these opportunities to see if they are appropriate for our organization. So when we start out, we're going to be looking for, what type of request is this? Is it an RFP? Is it something else? And then we're going to define the purpose. So you can look back over this slide and you can see that breakdown, but let's actually walk through this and let's do that together. So if I'm on here, let's actually do one for real for my company. So let's look up my company, Dow Learning, just to give you guys an idea of what this is. We educate and inspire with modern pedagogy, and we have all these different, like a women's program, computer programming, we have a research lab, we have fitness. So essentially we do women empowerment, we teach IT stuff, we have health, and then we have like interstellar research. So that's just a few of the areas. So how about we look for something in the women empowerment area in a nonprofit? Now you can apply this to any company. I just want you guys to understand how that will work. So if I'm looking for that, let's type in women empowerment. And since we're a digital company as well, we have the opportunity to go into many, many different countries and give that assistance. So one of the first things I'm looking for in this gauge portion, I'm looking for the close date. I don't know why these aren't organized better when you search from up there, but let's go ahead and organize it ourselves from the close date. So you have that goes all the way to 2028. And let's come down to essentially where today is. I'm filming this in February 5th. So I want to give myself, for me and my team, we need about a month to get this done. Now, instead of scrolling back in this weird way, you could actually define, your date range. You could update the date range here, and they have different filters over here you can look for. So, okay, so this gives me about a month from today. So that's about enough time for my particular company to get one of these done. And the reason for that G.R.A.N.T method, I want each team, each sprint to last about 1 week. That's just personally how I run this. And you can do it way faster. You could take a lot more time if you want. Okay, so now let's just look over a few of these. And I want to pick one that's real so I'm not just doing a tutorial with you guys. Instructional training grants. That's something that we do quite a bit. So it was just posted yesterday. Okay, so let's go and click on that. See who put it out. And what we have to do in this gauge process is we have to see, are we eligible? Now, we personally, we're a nonprofit with a 501c3, and we are not an institute of higher education. That's like a university. So it's saying you have to be a nonprofit, but you can't be a university. So, okay, great. That works for us. And it also says how much their floor is, how much their ceiling is. In our software we've built, we have lines for every single piece that you see in here, and we're going to essentially import that over into, this is called the Dream Hub. Okay, so in the Dream Hub, that's what this is talking about. You can access the Dream Hub on your mobile device, and there's all these different fields that we can fill out, and we're going to be going over those. Okay, so back on here, before we actually take this in, this is saying something about hazardous materials. I just don't know if that's appropriate. So in this particular one, we're going to go to the related documents, which we can click here to see, or we can click up on this tab. And they normally call it a NOFO, N-O-F-O. So this one's a very standard one, NOFO. That stands for Notice of Federal Opportunity. I don't know what the F is, but it's a notice of an opportunity. Funding opportunity. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's open this file and let's see what we have going on. Hazard materials, instructor training grants. And I want to scroll down, look for like the scope of work. I'm just trying to get an overview. Now, I want to be lazy. I don't want to read 19 pages right now. Let's be as lazy as possible, because all we're seeing is, you know, is my company actually good for this? Is this something we want to do? You know, it would bring in $250,000 minimum for our company, but we don't want to do it unless it's actually a specialty in what we already know how to do. So it says statement of purpose on page 4. Maybe that will be a good place for us to start. Statement of purpose. Training programs essential for hazmat employees. Okay, so while this isn't a perfect one for our company, it still flows within a lot of what we cover. So again, back on our website, we have women empowerment, we have computer programming. We absolutely go over hygiene and safety. Essentially, this company, we are a literacy company. We do alternative learning, and we teach people that want to learn outside of a school environment. So they come online and learn with us. They learn through videos. Even this video right here, this is part of that nonprofit. So you can see it's a different style of learning. So when I'm looking at this, where is he? I'm thinking, yeah, we can make a whole area that's kind of OSHA certified, and we can totally make a training program for that. Now I just ask myself, is it something we want to do? Is that a direction we want to go in? And I do think it is. I think it does flow with a lot of the factories we work with. So I'm not going to spend too much time thinking about that. I want to move as fast as possible and show you guys just how to put these together. So now that I've decided, yes, we could do this, I'm going to go back to my Dream Hub, okay? And you guys will get a link to this if you sign up with us through the Focus Hive, or if you're part of our organization anyway. But yeah, this whole tutorial, you have to have this Dream Hub. See, Dream Hub. And it's actually going to start you out when you get in here. It's going to start you out on the My Tasks area. And since you're brand new, you obviously don't have any tasks. So since I'm the one leading this whole project, I go to the request. And here's a few other requests I have, but yours should probably be empty, or it'll have your teams on there. But I'm going to hit the new button. Okay, so when I hit new, we're going to be filling this out based on what we're learning over here. And you don't have to take the words exactly. I'm going to call it something a little bit different. So instructor training grants. Okay, the name, I'm going to call it Hazmat, just so my company knows that is like the factory or outdoor worker training. I don't want to get rid of the word grant because most of ours are grants. Okay, hazmat instructor training. Okay, request type. This is a general one. The purpose. Now, I could fill this out all the way down here, but that starts getting overwhelming. And that's why we have the G, the R, the A, the N, and the T method. So what I want you guys to do is when you first start doing this, yeah, go ahead and put that name in, you can put the request in, but let's click that little button there. And what that does when you click that button, it gives you the drop down of all the areas that you need to focus on in the order that we think that they're important. But before I get started on that, I'm going to go ahead and save this. And the reason I'm going to save it right now, this is, you can see in the lower right here, it's unsaved. So you can either save down there in the lower right, or you can save up here in the bigger button in the upper left, or Control S, Mac S, Command S, or something like that on a Mac. Okay, so we're going to hit save. Once we save it, that sets it as an official request, an official RFP. Okay, so looking back over here on this slide, you can break down what each piece goes for. You can refer to this video that I'm making right now, or you can actually even just highlight over the words there to see what they do, and that should help you understand what that particular area is for. Okay, so now that this is saved in here, again, I'm going to hit that gauge button, but I don't like that every time I go away, it just disappears. So what I want you to do is I want you to hit this button to pin it. And when you pin it, it then makes it a priority and it makes it part of your entire experience. It's over here on the right now. Okay, so what we're going to do is go through each of these areas right from the grants page. So it wants to know what the purpose is. Okay, it's a summary of the purpose. So let's go back to here, and we literally found statement of purpose. Now, sometimes whoever put this grant in, they make it easy for you. They put the purpose right here. But whoever did this one, they didn't help out very much. They just said, look at the related documents. So that made us have to download that PDF. But yeah, we have this statement of purpose, and we're not going to take the whole thing. That's too big. I'm going to take just this one paragraph here. I think that's enough for people to understand what's going on. Okay, so I copied that. I go back to the Dream Hub, and I go to the purpose, and I paste it in. And yes, I know it's very tiny, very hard to read, but when you click away, it's going to update over here on this purpose area. Okay, and you can see that it is in there. Okay, now requirements. The requirements that's an interesting one. It's called requirements, but that's actually just a link to the request. So let's go back here, and yeah, you have to pay attention to this. So you have to hit this little link button here. You can't just grab this link up here. That's not the official link. You have to hit that link button, copy this guy. That's the actual link. And then we go back in and we go to requirements and fill it out. Now the cool thing about the gauge process, that entire sprint is just doing all of these steps right here. And that's not that complex. Okay, so then the application ID. I mean, we're already on the third step and it's not taking that much time. So now the application ID, you can have something inside your own company as your application ID, or you can use the official one. In our company, we normally use the official one, which is here. You can also see funding opportunity number here. Okay, so let's go back and put that in. All right, and so we have the request type, we defined the purpose, we got the requirement link, and we got the application ID. So we filled out those first four in there. So let's move on and let's talk about the next section. Now the next section that we're going to go for is the docket. Okay, now the docket has a lot going on with it, and you can see in here we have a whole dockets area. Okay, so the next one's a docket, and it's going to say look up a docket. Now, the docket is your actual response. So this is the request area, but the docket is the actual PDF file that you're going to send back to them. And you obviously don't have one yet. We don't have one because we just started this. So we're going to make a new docket. Okay, so a new docket, and we're going to call it Hazmat Training Response. It's assigned to, could put me in there for now. Oh, I'm not a contact. I'm an actual user. Well, we can come back to that later. Yeah, you can choose who out of your contacts that's assigned to. You can find an internal due date based upon this needing to be due. Current close date is March 19th. So I want this to be due a little bit earlier than that. So I'm going to choose March, let's say March 13th. That gives us a week before it's due. It's active. Fiscal sponsor. Okay, so the fiscal sponsor is who would be paying for this. So you go into the grants area, and this is the Department of Transportation. Now, right now, we don't have an account with the Department of Transportation, the DOT. Never have worked with them. So that sponsor, we could create a new record for that. And we're just going to create them as a contact for now. Yeah, it's saying that I haven't saved this yet. So I'm going to go ahead and save it, save the docket. And then for the fiscal sponsor, let's add a new record, new contact. Nope, sorry, that's a company. So we're going to have a new record as an account. Yeah, it's not a person, it's an actual account. So the account name is the Department of Transportation. It's just a general customer. And that should be enough for now, just to get this started in here. Because we don't know if we're actually going to be continuing with them or not. Okay, well, it's giving me an error, but it still worked. All right, so now we have the Department of Transportation. And what you could do in here is you could update this quite a bit if you really wanted to, and it would start building a relationship for you with this particular company. If I put in their email in here, like somewhere down here, yeah, we have Dwayne, and we could add in Dwayne Cross. So inside of here in the contacts, the primary contact, let's create a new contact for Dwayne. And that is Dwayne Cross. And we have his phone number and his email. And yes, you want to build relationships with these people. He's an organization contact. He's a grantor. And I have his phone number, but it's not his mobile phone number. I have his business phone number. We'll put it in his mobile for now. Let's go back and get his email. Put his email in and save. Actually, I'm going to hit the save and the close button. That'll pop me back over to the previous screen I was on with my error. Okay, and now it adds in Dwayne here as the contact for this. Pretty cool, right? And then when I close this one out as well, because you can see we're in a whole string. We're in the docket still. And then we're all the way over here in Department of Transportation. Okay, so let's go back to dockets. And we have in here the Hazmat Training Response. So when you go into the Hazmat Training Response as our docket, And the fiscal sponsor, we now have the option of the Department of Transportation. The award recipient, who's going to get the money for this, that would be Dow Learning. Yeah, the Dow Learning Institute. So the Department of Transportation is sponsoring this, and then the recipient is Dow Learning. We have this due date. It's an active one. The summary of the description. You know, we could copy this same purpose, at least for now. We could put that in there. Okay, assigned to. And whoever's going to be writing this for you, that's who you would assign that to. And I don't have somebody chosen yet, but this is all set. Now, the cool thing about the Dream Hub, and this is running on Dynamics 365, the cool thing about all of this is, even though it says unsaved changes down here and asks me to hit that save button, I can just leave this. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to leave it. We're going to go back to our requests and see it saves it automatically for me. So back in the requests, well, I don't see them in there. Active dockets. I'm just hitting the back button to get back to my request I was on. Here we go. So the Hazmat Instructor Training. Okay, so now we have an actual docket. So now we can click in there and we can choose that docket. Voila. That docket is now attached to this. The fiscal sponsor, well, we already went through and did that for the Department of Transportation. So we have that one as well. And the recipient, that's who's getting this award. So Dow Learning is getting this award. Okay, so let's look back. Well, the initial application channel. That's essentially, how did we find this? Was it grants.gov? Was it SAM? We found this on grants.gov. All right, so let's look back over all of this. We got 4 more areas. Now, I'm very fast at this. I've used this system a long time. I built it, so you might be moving slower than me. That is okay. We're only about 10, 15 minutes in. This might take you a few hours to do this much when you first do it. So pace yourself. Okay, but we're going to go ahead and move on. If you need a break, pause the video, but we're moving forward. Okay, the next step is picking the project lead. You have to pick who is helping lead this for you, and then we're going to pick a deadline for it, and we're also going to pick the total amount that this is worth. So let's go do that. So the lead was Dwayne. What was the guy's name? Dwayne Cross. Well, let's look back. Project lead. That's right. Okay, so it's not what I was doing. Don't do that. So the lead is who on your team is going to be taking this over. And that is going to be me, actually. So I'm the lead of it. I'm responsible for this. And the deadline. So you can choose on that deadline. Do you want to put the actual deadline that they have? But depending on your team, you might want to give it a cushion. I gave a March 13th deadline on the docket. So March 13th. I'll go ahead and put the 18th on here. What was it again? It's the 19th. So sure, I'll go one day before. Okay. And then the amount projected. So you can highlight over. It can be how much money you are projecting that you're going to receive. So they say that the floor is $250 and the top is $1 million. So what that pretty much means is you can't bid on it unless you're asking for $250,000, but the most you can ask for is $1 million. And we need to project how much we personally are going to be getting out of this. And you can do one of two things. You can either, well, you can do a few things. You can choose the floor, you can choose the ceiling, you can choose amount in the middle, and that does determine how much your company can grow. I mean, this is pretty important. If you write $250,000 right now and just choose the floor, then you're going to be limiting your company to the bottom every single time. If you choose the top, well, now you're sucking up all their funds, and they just might not give you all of it. But that's going to take further analysis to know. And the cool thing about that, our grant entire process, the person on the target, they actually fix this for you. Right now, you're just saying, can my company do this? This whole sprint, this is just about, can my company do this? Are we appropriate? Are we qualified? And is this enough money for us to actually do something with? Now, the last method that you could do to figure this amount out, you could actually read through that NOFO, and somewhere in here, see like the funding. They might even say here, we are going to pick 4 complete different companies unless we find something really amazing for one company. But I don't see that here. The expected individual, yeah, so they actually have $3 million. They have 3.7 million, and they're breaking it up into these chunks. So even if you did choose $1 million, it looks like they'll still have 4 more companies to choose from. So that's cool. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put $1 million in here. Okay, so that's 1 0 0 0 0 0 0. Am I right on that? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So the amount projected, we got that done. So we got everything here done. Congratulations. And now we're going to move on to the last step in this whole process. So the project transport. This to me is the centerpiece of how I personally do grant acceleration. Now, the difference in how I run any kind of project, and you could see people like, you could see the company of Microsoft, you could see Amazon, you could see SpaceX with Tesla and how they're running their company. They will get a grant, they'll get an RFP from a government body or some big company, and they will funnel that through an existing company. Let's look at SpaceX, for example. They are launching government satellites all the time, and government security and all kinds of stuff. But as they're doing that, the vehicle they're putting that through is called the SpaceX vehicle. And I don't mean just because it's an actual vehicle, it's an actual rocket. I mean because they have a program to continuously put projects through. So that's what our project transport is. So let's go back and let's go to our transports. So when we go to transports, we have all transports, or you can look at just the planned transports, but these are tons of different transports that we have available, you know, and we want to see which program that we have is appropriate to funnel that entire program through. Because on that learning, like I said, we had women empowerment, we have a computer programming, we have a research lab, but which one out of all of this makes sense for that hazmat program? Now, I already know because I know our company really well. And if you keep scrolling, yep, it's not even on here, the one I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of our Ignite Curiosity program. So if you look at Ignite Curiosity, it's all about learning. You know, you learn STEAM. We can learn, just get curious about all types of stuff. So I'm thinking of these people in the hazmat industry, if they can get curious and get passionate through this platform and use the Ignite Curiosity as the vehicle, as the transport model, then that's what I want to do for our company. Now, what you might do, let's go back to requests. You know, when I leave that request too, we didn't save it as a planned request, so it's not showing up in here yet. You have to change your stage here, and you have to change that actually to, you know, in progress or application started. If you don't do that, it's not going to show up in the right area. So we have started this. Now it's going to start showing up. Okay. And the last one on here is our transport. So I'm going to type in Ignite and see if that's an option. No records found. Okay, if that's not an option, how about we just do a search? Look looking at all these different transports. So we might not have the Ignite Curiosity. I've lost, nope. Okay, so it looks like we don't have that in there. Essentially, what you want to do, we already have a beautiful website for this, but we don't have the back end for that in here. So let's go to our transports. And the only people that can actually make transports should be someone very high up in the company. You shouldn't be making these on your own. So I'm an executive. I'm going to make a transport. And I'm going to make the Ignite Curiosity. Well, I'm going to go back one more time and look at our transports, because I thought it was in here already. Let's just look down to see, do any of these make sense for that hazmat program? And I really don't see the Ignite Curiosity vehicle. We definitely have Ignite Curiosity as an objective. You know, igniting curiosity, that's a verb, that's an objective. But that program has grown so much, it actually is its own vehicle as well. So let's add that in here. It's owned by the Dow Learning Institute. The scope is global. So we have a complete different video teaching people how to do this. And if you're only on the gauge method, you shouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. You should just be able to find one, plop it in. So I'll finish the rest of that later. Let's go ahead and save and close it. Cool. And we can either go back to our requests here and we can find the hazmat. And the reason it's showing up now is because I put it in the application started phase. If I didn't put it in that application started phase, it will not show up in my planned requests. When you come to the request area, you still won't see it here, which is annoying. But to find it, you'd have to hit that down arrow and look at the inactive. You'd have to look at ones that just aren't even in the planned area yet. Okay, so let's go back into hazmat and let's wrap this puppy up. So in there, voila, we have Ignite Curiosity. Okay, so let's look it all over. We have, whoops. Okay, so it says it took us 21 minutes to do this, to get through that entire sprint. And for a sprint is normally a week long. So 21 minutes on a sprint, that's just fabulous. And I believe we're ready to move on. I think that's all that we need here. Yeah, I feel very good about all of that. So now that we're ready to move on, we are going to hit next stage. Now, you might even want to ask your own manager. You might want to say, do I hit next stage or do I wait on the next sprint people to come in and hit that button? My organization, we hit next stage. When you hit next stage, this kicks it over to the next team, which is the research team. Now, that might be you yourself. If you're a small company, then you might just change your hat out of Dream Detective mode over into research mode. And for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to be the one wearing all the hats. But this could be an entire team. Okay, so in here, this one gets a little bit more complex. And this one could take you a full week just to do appropriate research on all of this. And since it's a little bit more in-depth, remember when we first started, we had our task area and our tasks are all empty. Well, that's not going to be the case anymore. Now that we've actually, we've gone through, we have the hazmat, and, we're ready to do this one. So since we actually want to move forward and do it, then I'm going to execute, and you only want to hit this one time, and whoever hits this button, all the tasks get assigned to them. It's not necessarily to that person, it's who it's assigned to. So right now, this whole project, if you go to the administrative tab, you can see who it's assigned to. So let's go check that out. The owner of this is the research team. Now you could change this to whoever you want the owner to be. And I'm going to make the owner myself. That's one way to do that. Another way to do that, which is going to be more common in your team, you're going to hit the assign button up here. So you're going to hit assign, and you're going to choose who this whole project goes to, and assign to me. So yes, I'm going to assign it to myself, which does the same thing as what I did on that administrative page. Assigns it to me. Now that it's assigned to me, when I execute this, it's going to also assign all the tasks to me. Now, if you're a team, you might want that owner to be a team instead of an individual. So let's hit the assign button again and show you what that looks like. You might change this to team, user or team, and let's think of, we have like a whole Focus Hive team. We have a whole Sunny Hive team. We have other companies that work with us. Let's think that we're going to hire Crumpix, which is a great research company and data science company. So we could even hire them. It's going to look through all the teams, and it finds, boom, Crumpix. Now, you're only going to have access to find the teams on here that are not hidden to you. So either your partners or your existing teams, your existing departments, or your own full team. If you have a Focus Hive with us, you'll have a team. So if I wanted to hire them, and we have a deal already that they're going to do all my research for me, then, I'd add them in here and hit assign. That's not the case, though. We're doing this one ourselves. Okay, so that's all set. We have the right person in here, and you really want to make sure that's right before you hit that execute button. Do not accidentally hit this. It makes a ton of stuff happen. Okay, so let's hit execute now. Hazmat instructor training and execute. It's processing. And done. Check. Okay, so what that does is if we go to our tasks area, we now see 15 different tasks. Okay, so let's go back over here. This is all done. And what we have done now is we have moved on to that research phase. So this is all about discovering the possibilities of this entire program, really getting in deep on all of that research and all the information in the NOFO. So we're going to start out with this on a step-by-step process that this video can help you on, but the cool thing about our entire process is everything you see here, you actually have a task now for in your task management area. So let's click on the first one and see what our first task is. And it just tells us what to do. Start learning about the recipient. Keep notes in OneNote about the aspects of the company which are relevant to this project. And it tells you who the recipient is, Dow Learning. And it says it's regarding the Hazmat Instructor Training Program, and the duration is 4 hours. So this is telling you that it should take you about 4 hours to research this, and it wants you to learn about this actual recipient. And the reason you need to know about the recipient, you're just doing research at this phase and compiling everything inside of OneNote for future people. So where do you put that in OneNote? You actually go back inside of the project itself. You go back into that request. And inside of here, every single project, now pay attention here, down in the timeline, you can hit the little plus button, and you can add a little teeny tiny note in, or you can open up OneNote. And what we do is we use OneNote for every single piece of this. So let's go ahead and click OneNote, and this has its own custom notebook just for this project. And your whole role here is going to be load as much research as possible into OneNote so that the future people on your team can utilize all of your notes here to put together a beautiful proposal. Okay, so I'm going to type in know the company. All right, so it's in the Hazmat Instructor Training Notebook. I have a page called Know the Company. I'm not feeling good about that, actually. I'm going to call it Ignite curiosity overview. And the reason we want to know the company, now I'm the owner of this company, I obviously know everything about it, but the people that are either new and you just got hired to come in here and build out somebody else's grant or someone else's proposal, you might be clueless. So we actually give you a 4-hour time span in your tasks just to go in and learn about this company. So I would actually go over to the Ignite Curiosity page and I would start taking notes on everything that I learn here. And the reason we take notes, it's for 2 reasons. You learn when you write. You yourself learn really well when you actually write stuff. So I'd say, okay, they open minds to make steam cool. Opens minds to make steam cool. Steam literacy program. You get the idea. You're kind of doing homework here. You're just going through and researching all of this. Now, the reason you need to research that, see, this is where the science tech, you would get all of this off the company itself. Maybe the company even has different manuals. There just might be a lot of stuff. You can go to the About page, what we do. Yeah, all of this is important so that you can accurately set up everything. And we do not want to see you copy and paste. Do not copy and paste. You do not learn anything when you just copy and paste. That's useless. But you'd want to fill this whole page up with what your ideas are on just who that company is and how that works. So now let's move on. Let's say that we did all of that. We spent 4 hours on that and we did a lot of training. So you can actually click check and mark it complete. Do you want to close the selected task? Yes, I do. I'm going to close it. So that one's completed. Now the cool thing is that will show your manager that you actually did work. And not only do you want to close it over here in your actual task area, you want to go back to the project itself and you can update it over there. So I want actually to have 2 pages open in my Dream Hub. So I want to hold down Control and click on Disregarding. That'll open up a new section up here and it'll actually open up the whole project in a different window. So the idea of a sprint, this research sprint, I've been on it for 9 minutes now, and we want to speed that up as much as possible. So we want to, we obviously want to do a good job, but we don't want to take forever because we are always on deadlines. Okay, so the know the company, that one's done. Let's click this here to pop it out over on the right. That one's done. We already researched the company, we took notes on it, so boom, completed. Now it says gather the documents. So let's go back here and let's read what it means to gather the documents. So I look at my task, it says gather all the documents and research all possible directions. Store the documents in the related document area. Okay, they're usually in a zip file. And it says this should only take me 1 hour to do. Okay, so specifically find the NOFO. Okay, so if we go back on that grants page, we go to related documents, voila, the NOFO is already a zip file. So I'm going to download that whole folder, or to make it easy for the other people on the team, you could download things individually. But yeah, let's download the whole folder. It's downloaded now. And I'm going back into the request over here where it says, gather all the documents. I'm actually going to go to the related folder and go to documents. And I'm going to upload right inside of here. Okay, so let's go to our downloads. Oh, there it is. Open. And okay. So there we go. We have a 1 megabyte zip file, and that's uploaded. So we gathered all the documents. I'm hitting complete here, and I'm going back to my tasks over here, and I'm going to hit complete on this guy as well. Close task, mark as complete. But let's just read it a little bit more. Anything relevant from the client or project manager. Okay, we're good. Mark as complete, and it's closed now. So we give a 1 hour window for that, but as you see, it only took me 2 minutes. So you really could speed this whole process up. And then you want to read all those documents. Everything that we downloaded there. Let's go ahead and read this next task. Okay, so we know the company. We're going to conduct research on our own company and get all kinds of crazy information. Then we gather all the documentation. Then we move on and we actually read those documents that we downloaded. Now this might take a day. Sometimes they're 300 pages long, and you can't actually skip pages on there. You have to read through every single page. So that one file that we got, it says here he's 18 pages long. And yeah, you want to read through all of this. Take your time. We give an 8-hour day to read through all of this. And the reason we give that much time is sometimes, yes, it is 300 pages, but you can't really go beyond the time span because look at how many tasks we have. So let's assume we read through all of that, and it even says what to do here. Okay, and mark complete. So over there, it tells you your duration, how long you have to do this. And I'm already getting ahead of myself. This says we don't even have to start this until 2 days from now. So I'm doing really good on my assignments because I'm on number 4 already. So you essentially would go through all of these. You would finish each task up just as it tells you to. Then you'd go back into the task and I gathered the documents. Let's assume I read all the documents. Voila, click complete. And you do all of that. And you follow each step on each of these, and then you hit next stage. Now this is pretty intense. I'm not going to fake this right now. We're actually going to leave this for our team to do, but it should be self-explanatory for you because each one of these also gives you a task that's over in your task area. And if that's too complex for you, or if you start getting overwhelmed, you can actually take, 4 of your tasks and you can reassign those. You can click assign and say, that's way too hard for me, and send that to someone else on your team. But communicate with them as well. Use Microsoft Teams to communicate and say, hey, I just sent you a few tasks. But these also don't have to be assigned to a person. Oftentimes, they're like we did before, they're assigned to a whole team. So you'll actually come in and see these getting clicked off daily if your whole team is working on it. Okay, so after you would do all of these, you store all of this information mainly in OneNote. So we have that OneNote notebook, and I would advise to use the OneNote app. Open in app. This site is trying to open. We're going to say yes. We want to allow it to open. And now I can close it out on my browser, and I have the actual OneNote tab down here. Okay. Might make me try to put some passwords in. Because 99% of your work as a researcher, it's going to be stored in OneNote, and you're really going to make your boss happy. It says we couldn't find it. Might still be syncing. And I'm going to choose try launching it again. Sometimes normal. And also, since we just opened this entire program maybe 20 minutes ago, it sometimes needs time just to sync up to create the entire SharePoint site and all of that. But my point is, this one page that we have on here, this should be filled out with a lot of your information showing how your brain works, what are your thought processes, showing that you really comprehend this. And every single time it has a task in here, it says like write the conflict of interest, find related, find this. it'll keep telling you to refer back to OneNote and store that information. And then you have to write a brief summary. All of this, as a researcher, can be stored inside OneNote. Now, at the end of all of that, let's assume that we did all of this. We're going to hit, ta-da, next stage. And let's say I did all of those. So click through all of them. Whoa, what's going on? I'd click through all of them and I would choose, okay, let's go back to our tasks area. I'd click on all and I would choose complete. And I'm going to actually delete them out. Just so I have a clean task area again. Okay, so we moved it on to the assembly phase, and the same thing happens on the assembly phase. After somebody's done all that research, your forms should be filled out a lot better over here, and the researchers, they actually have their own tab with everything in here, which is over here, and the assembly, they have their own area, the narrator has their own area, the target. So for this particular video, I'll do this one more time. We'll do assign the assembly tasks. Let's execute that. And it says, yeah, it doesn't have any variables to put in, so just hit execute. So yep, we hit execute. It processed and it's done. So now if we go to our tasks, we now have, voila, tons of tasks, and it tells us when we can start it and when we can finish it. So the cool thing about this, you can actually push these around to different companies all at the exact same time. And what I mean by that is inside of that task, you can assign this over to one team or even one person on your team and have them do gauge. Assign it to another person, have them do research. Assign it to a third person, have them assemble. So now that I have it on that assembly phase, again, it tells me all these tasks I need to do. And this is more for a data scientist, someone that's going to be doing data aggregation, data wrangling, and putting together a very comprehensive visualization of how everything's going to work. So they would essentially be going into OneNote as well. And inside OneNote, they would see all this research in here done by the researcher. But it would probably be sloppy research. The difference between a data scientist and a researcher, the data scientist then starts moving things into a more beautiful solution. So in my tasks area, if I click on the commitment letters, yes, you can see how that program works. We give you 1 day to come up with all of this, and then you would store those back in the system in their appropriate spot. And if you have any questions on this, you can actually talk about this one task, and your boss, your manager, can also go into the request itself, and they could see very visually here what step you're on. So that's a great overview of how the entire Grant Accelerator works. We will be having future videos breaking down each step individually, and we will also show you some finished examples of this. And yes, this is a great way for you to get multi-million-dollar contracts. It's not limited just to the United States. We have international partners that are using this system as well. And the end goal is that you do every single G.R.A.N.T. and you put that through and you assign tasks, and then eventually you can send that docket out. The docket will be sent out to the people back over here. We'd give it to Dwayne over here within a month. And that's the whole process. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions on what I've went over so far, you can email us. You can also get access to this whole system. If you go to thefocushive.com, this is a place where we help organize business and we help bring things together. And you can understand more if you go to the, why Focus Hive? What do we go over? We teach how to do agile processes. We teach how to use the swarm process. And then the Dream Hub is what we just went over. We actually have a playbook for G.R.A.N.T that's kind of similar to what I showed you now, but that's for getting lead generation and for talking with just a one person. Their Grant Accelerator is what we just went over today. And when you sign up on the Focus Hive, you get access to all of these tools. You get access to our experts and our professionals, and we will help you curate your business to get grants, to get RFPs, and to fulfill proposals put out by other organizations asking you and requesting that you do business with them. If you would like to see some finished proposals, you may go to the Dow Learning website, and you can click on Impact and go to Technical Briefs. When you go to Technical Briefs, you'll actually be able to download for free many of our different briefs that we've designed throughout the years. And each of these is maybe 20 pages long. So you can get a very clear idea of what a professional end result looks like right here on this page. You're welcome to download these and use them as templates. We have the actual INDD InDesign files, and we have the Word document files as well for our members. So this is the end result that you're looking for. This breaks down the entire Grant Accelerator narrative, and we also have on that last stage the actual fiscal narrative as well. So that's a 20-page document that uses researchers, uses data scientists, narrators, and a fiscal strategist all to come together to help a nonprofit come up with a beautiful 20-page proposal. So that's just one of them. You can go on, many of these. You can download this guy over here, and you can see we normally use this same format, but they're still very different in the context of what it says in there. And this gives you an idea of the actual budgets that we put over. This one was for $20 million. So yes, it's a very professional high-end system that uses sustainable development goals. It's just really great for nonprofits. If you want to look on the for-profit end, I suggest looking at dowmedia.org, and you can scroll down here and download our catalog. The catalog is also called a schedule. So if you're in a for-profit company and you're doing a schedule, or you're trying to get a GSA schedule, then something like this is more appropriate. We actually break down all the different schedules that you can do and the nomenclature in here. So this is for public access. You're welcome to use this as well. And this is for an advertising agency, a media agency. So we have over 15 years experience in doing this. We've gotten very big RFPs internationally, and we've now opened this entire program up for other people to come in and use. And as you see, it's very intuitive. If you have a 3-person team, then just within a month's work, you guys can put together a beautiful grant process. And the reason we call it grant is a grant is a wish. You want to receive an opportunity, and this grants you that opportunity. So yeah, again, if you have any questions, feel free to call us, email us, or go to the Focus Hive, and you can go ahead and sign up here for this solution for your company. We have opportunities for teams as small as 5 up to teams of 60. And we also have programs for nonprofits specifically as well. Hope you guys just enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.